The global fashion industry is shifting dramatically. Brands like Zara, that once ordered a minimum of 6,000 pieces per style, have drastically reduced their orders to about 600 pieces. And this isn't just a quantity thing. Production timelines have shrunk from 150 days to less than half of that. What's the result of all of this? Well, in simple words, fresh designs every 2 weeks. This shift in the industry was made possible because of middlemen like Groyo, who get small factories to manufacture clothes in small batches in record time. Just like that, the four-year-old company managed to clock 430 crore rupees in revenue in the year ended March 2024. But surprisingly, it was actually during the pandemic, when most industries were struggling to keep the lights on, that Groyo saw the most success. You see, this B2B fashion aggregator swooped in at exactly the right time with two distinct business models. In the first, the aggregator takes orders directly from international apparel brands, managing the entire value chain. So, for instance, if they secure a shirt order from Mango at $2 per piece, they may contract with a small factory at $1.80. In the second model, brands reach out directly to factories, bypassing Groyo initially. However, the latter still earns a commission by moderating the relationship between the two and also being involved in the manufacturing process. Groyo has managed to expand its network from 150 to 250 factories across countries like Bangladesh and Turkey within a span of 1 year. Today, it serves 60 international brands, with each factory generating an annual revenue of 30 to 70 crore and selected for its specialized capability. So Delhi NCR factories focus on fashion garments like leather jackets, Bangalore on structured pieces like bottoms, Tirupur on cotton wear, and Bangladesh on winter clothing. The company has made its mark by doing what other larger factories find challenging. There's a reason it partners up specifically with smaller factories. Because at the end of the day, when a brand places an order for just 500 pieces to be delivered within 60 days, large factories aren't able to justify the operational adjustments required, which is why small and medium factories end up having an edge. The margins are bigger and they have more flexibility on the table. So brands can get an inventory that is smaller and more frequent rather than waiting on one big package. But the thing is, this isn't the first time someone has tried to do this. Other B2B fashion platforms like Genie Mode and Fashinza also went down the same path, but ended up burning over $100 million trying to digitize this unorganized space. But Groyo managed to recognize exactly what they were missing: a focus on international markets. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from The Ken. I'm your host Rahil Philippos, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Snigdha Sharma and I come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of February. Today, 90% of Groyo's business comes from international brands. The reason for that is simple. See, when you walk into a popular, bustling shopping mall in pretty much any city, you will notice it's the likes of Zudio that's pulling in the crowds. That tends to happen when you sell shirts for 200 rupees and jeans for 800 rupees. But the flip side is that when retailers offer trendy clothing at affordable prices, usually it is the manufacturers and aggregators that see their margins getting squeezed. That doesn't happen with international brands. Subin Mitra, the co-founder and chief executive of Groyo, explained to the Ken how it works. Essentially, in the domestic market, retailers already have in-house factories, vendors, sourcing, quality teams, and even designers. So, aggregators end up adding very little value. The margins also end up being as low as, say, 5%. But when it comes to exports, they unlock significant value. Because suddenly they're responsible for identifying suppliers, managing the supply chain, and even curating designs. So, in these cases, margins end up reaching 20%. There are, of course, other players in the space, the likes of Shahi and Gokaldas, two of the largest garment exporters from India. But what sets Groyo apart is how flexible it is. Shahi and Gokaldas generally set a minimum order of 3,000 pieces per apparel, but Groyo caters to orders as small as 300. Mitra explained that Groyo isn't just connecting manufacturers to brands, it's also standardizing factories by going deep into the supply chain. So brands are able to give it specific instructions on what they want the order to look like. And for aggregators, it means managing a network of stakeholders, including manufacturers, fabric suppliers, and specialists in printing, dyeing, stitching, and packaging. But pulling all of this off has proven anything but seamless for other B2B players trying to replicate Groyo's model. More on that in the next segment.
Have you checked out 1 billion in 10 minutes yet? For those of you who haven't, it is our latest mini-series based on the Kent's inaugural case competition where India's smartest business school students were asked what they would do with $1 billion if they were running a quick commerce company. In episode 1, we dive into the 2 winning strategies for the OG e-grocer, Big Basket, where both teams set out to leverage the Tata ecosystem, but in radically different ways. Which strategy is going to win? Well, tune in and find out. The links are in the show notes of this episode. Listen for free while you can, by the way, because this series is going behind a paywall on the 3rd of March. And now, back to the episode.
The Indian apparel export market is not for the faint of heart. Sure, it is valued at $40 billion, which is why so many players have tried to enter the space, but many have been burnt in the process. Just take Inframarket and Zetwork, for example. Both scale their billion-dollar businesses by optimizing construction and engineering supply chains. But both were eventually humbled by fashion's never-ending complexity. Industry experts blamed a flawed execution strategy. In fact, a similar scenario unfolded years after Gurugram-based Fashinza launched in 2020. The B2B apparel aggregator had a strong start, raising $75 million from a bunch of top-tier investors. But soon, its gross merchandise value started to drop. It lost several key executives and its workforce got slashed by half. And what's probably most alarming is that all of that happened within 18 months. Again, this was an execution problem. This is a company that restructured itself thrice since launch, all in a quest for product market fit. Initially, it relied on category heads to drive growth, but when that didn't work, it switched to regional teams, hoping local leadership would help. That approach ended up failing as well. And then there was Genie Mode, another fashion startup that launched around the same time. A garment manufacturer we spoke to said that the company saw stagnant growth and hefty losses due to operational delays. The manufacturer said their experience with Genie Mode was quote-unquote horrible. They ended up losing a lot of money in the process. Now, what these players have in common is that they all prioritize top-line growth to attract venture capital. They all wanted to work with manufacturers with revenues over 200 crore rupees. But Groyo ended up going in the opposite direction. From the get-go, it was dead set on tapping into smaller, more flexible players. But even this approach isn't without its challenges. Stay tuned. The benchmark for large-scale B2B apparel manufacturing is PDS Global. Now, PDS managed to crack the code for European customers by developing a unique sourcing model. Instead of owning factories, PDS built a web of global partnerships. It pitched joint ventures to buyers with strong brand ties, offering them the chance to set up operations anywhere, from India to the United States. For instance, the company would ask the American luxury fashion brand Ralph Lauren to join hands to launch a business in India. It would fund it for the first 2 years and then give a stake in the local subsidiary. Now, Groyo's approach is drastically different. The company identifies SMEs and addresses basic issues like cleanliness, compliance, and worker safety within them. Mitra explained how it then introduces its app, allowing manufacturers to track everything from fabric cutting to packaging while digitalizing inventory and optimizing capacity. This keeps factories updated and also ends up minimizing delays. Groyo also has an in-house team to help factories with basic standards. While the company knows it is unrealistic to compare small factories to giants like Shahi Exports or Gokal Das, its focus is on ensuring compliance with essential requirements like sanitation and other core processes. Mitra explained that while it typically takes 2 to 5 weeks to transform a factory, Groyo avoids factories that need heavy equipment upgrades or major process changes. But the catch is that maintaining even basic standards becomes tricky when dealing with too many small factories. Getting brands on board, maintaining quality, and giving factories a makeover is a time drain, especially when they are expected to meet the standards of global brands. And yet, Groyo's founders are confident that the long term payoff outweighs these challenges, especially now when production is shifting away from China. Suddenly, Groyo's network of tech enabled SME factories offers the ideal solution. The company also solves for design. While other brands take at least 2 to 3 weeks to go from designing to sampling an apparel, Groyo does it in just a week. The company has its own design studio that not only creates collections from scratch, but also works with brands to develop products, essentially addressing the design capability gap that small manufacturers typically face. Groyo still isn't going after all brands. Just 2 months ago, in fact, the company decided to pass on Marks and Spencer, recognizing that they weren't yet ready to meet M&S's standards. What the fashion aggregator has truly recognized, though, is the global fashion pivot towards smaller batches, quicker turnarounds, and more diverse sourcing. And that, for now, is their winning strategy.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription unlocks daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. Head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the website. Today's episode was hosted by Rahil Philippos and edited by Rajiv CN.